guys, Macy here, the Bright Side Girl, and today we're going to be talking about my Galaxyathon reading wrap-up / March reading wrap-up part 2. So, in case you missed it, I did a space-themed readathon in March for 2 weeks, so I read a ton of space sci-fi themed books that I'm going to be talking about exclusively in this video. I read a few things after the readathon as well. One of my March reading wrap-up is already up, so I'll link that up here in the cards for you guys. You can go check out all the non-spacey things if you want to see what I read. There wasn't a ton. I read 28 books in March. A lot of these are very small, so you'll see how I did that in a second. But I'm pretty proud of myself. I had a really great time during the readathon. Part 1 and 2 of my Galaxyathon vlog should be up already, so I'll link those in the cards as well as in the description. If you want to kind of see my journey reading all of these delightful books, I love a good space-themed book. Most of these I read via audio, so for those I will link the narrators. I think I forgot to do that in my March reading wrap-up, and I always like to do that just so I can kind of make note and let you guys know who the good ones are. So first up, I want to talk about Starport by George R. R. Martin. I got this graphic novel, I think at like the 99-cent store or Dollar Tree, and I was so excited because graphic novels are expensive and it's really, really pretty. Set in Chicago, creatures and other aliens are a well-known thing. We have like a port set up for them to like represent them, and they kind of walk among us, and we kind of are having to deal with all of the outcome of that. I wound up DNFing this one. With graphic novels, I'm not a huge graphic novel person, but I kind of knew right away that this wasn't going to work for me. So I read about a fourth of it and I was just kind of like, not so much. Not a bad graphic novel. The art was beautiful. The story was fine. It just wasn't really clicking with me, so I decided to DNF. So first up for Galaxyathon, I read Space Opera by Catherine M. Valente. This is a young adult space opera. It is a standalone, and I did this via audiobook. I really did enjoy the narrator. This one very much has a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy vibe. I have not read the book, but I've watched the movie, so I kind of get the feel for it. Kind of wacky and kooky and fun. Basically, different alien species have come to let us know that they don't know if we deserve to be a species anymore, and we have to compete in this like singing talent competition in order to stay alive. And so they pick a representative for Earth, which winds up being this old rock star that was kind of like a one-hit wonder that hasn't done anything in forever, and he has to travel in space and compete in a singing and talent competition to keep us alive. So that's kind of the gist of it, but it's kind of wacky and fun, and there's all kinds of different things that happened. I really enjoyed this quite a bit. I enjoyed the like weirdness of it, and I really liked the comments on like life and art and what makes us human and all that kind of stuff, and it was just very, very fun, and the ending was fabulous, so I wound up giving this one 4 stars. Then for the readathon, I decided to again try some graphic novels. Starport didn't work for me, but I got the Space Boy series. This is a young adult space series from the library. I got all of them. I'm very sorry, I don't know where I put the first one, so we'll just hold up this third one here. So I read, I think, 9 of these during the readathon. One reason I was able to get to 28 books. They're very short. The dialogue is pretty sparse, so it probably only takes me like 40 minutes to read these. I fell in love, and I love them so much, and I'm about to read the next couple for April. Start out following a girl, and she is in a space station, and she has grown up there her whole life. Her family lives there, and her dad works on the space station. They have like a mission to complete, and her dad winds up getting like fired from his job and having to go back to Earth, and she's really upset because she has to leave her friend behind, and she's like cryogenically frozen, and so she knows when she gets to Earth it'll be like 30 years later, so her friend will be like in her 40s or 50s, and she'll still be 17. She has to start over with school. She doesn't know anything about Earth. And Amy also has a special power. She can taste people. So just by looking at them, she can tell that they have a flavor. So like she says, like her mom smells like mint and something else, and her mom tastes in her mind like mint or something else, and so tastes like donuts and whatever. And so she goes to school and she meets a boy that doesn't have a flavor, and she's trying to kind of figure out why, survive high school. There's all this cool technology in here because it's set in the future. There's a mystery, there's romance. It's so fun and so precious. I'm completely in love. I think I gave most of them 4 stars, maybe the last few 5. Next up, I read The Pioneer by Bridget Tyler, narrator right here. The narrator for this one was not my favorite, but she was doable. So this was kind of our like unofficial buddy read for the readathon. I found a bunch of these at Dollar Tree and Book Outlet, and I like gave them to a bunch of my friends. So a couple of us read this book. So this is about a girl who's been training to be this cadet pilot for this space mission, and they go off and things kind of go awry and they lose some people and it's kind of a whole disaster, and they wind up in this different planet and they kind of have to figure things out. I don't want to give too much away. I enjoyed this one. It wasn't like a super favorite, but the ending was really good, and I heard that the next one was even better, and my friend Stacy loved this one. She was really excited about it. So I do highly recommend this one. It was like a 3.75 for me, and I will read the next one hopefully sometime soon. Then I picked up a standalone. This is The Disasters by M.K. England, and the narrator for this one is James Fooey, who I really love. He's the voice of Warner in Shatter Me. He's super fabulous, so that made it extra fun. So I was trying to get a lot of standalones in for the readathon because I didn't want to add a bunch of new series to my unfinished series list. I'm not counting them towards this year's goal, but I will count them at the end of the year. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll link that video up in the cards. So we have our star hotshot pilot, Nax, and he is kicked out of Space Academy for failing his like pilot exam, and him and all the other rejects have to go back to Earth, figure out what they want to do with their lives. But on their way to do this, a terrorist group attacks the space colony, and him and the other rejects kind of have to steal a spaceship and figure out how to survive. And so it was kind of just like this whole ragtag team of disasters, and they're trying to like survive and figure out what's happening and who attacked this space station, what they should do about it. It was very fun. Highly recommended for a good first standalone. I think I wound up giving this one 3.5 stars. Next up, I did the Murderbot Diaries. So my plan was to read all of these because there's 6 of them, and they're all 3-hour audios, which for me is like between an hour and a half and 2 hours because I do a faster speed when I listen on audiobook. And so I was like, well, I can just do like 3 of them one week and 3 of them the next week. Everyone I know seemed to loved this series, and I love a good like kind of intelligent robot. So basically you're following this murder bot who was designed to like kill people for humanity. Like we basically use this robot to be like an assassin of sorts, and he winds up getting like kind of rescued. I could be totally wrong because I don't entirely remember, and turned into something else. And so he's not entirely trusted by the team that he's with, but he gets sent on missions to do things and help them with colonizing different planets and all kinds of different things like that. But basically he's got more of a personality and it's kind of more human-esque. I read the first couple of these and it just wasn't working for me, and I thought maybe I was listening too fast, so I slowed it down, and I just wound up by the 3rd one, I just really was not enjoying them, and I was very bummed, and I was like, well, maybe I'll come back to it later. So I only did the first 3, and I think I only gave them all like 3 stars. But then my friend Krista read the first one and said it was incredibly boring to her, and it made me kind of feel justified because I love space books, I love technical books, I love robots, and then she had just read Leviathan Wakes, which is a huge sci-fi book, and so I know that she has like a good attention span for sci-fi and things like that because it's like 24 hours. So I just decided that this series was not for me, unfortunately. I was pretty bummed about it, but I'm glad I gave them a shot. I also read Binti. The narrator was really good for this one. This is kind of hard to describe. I'm not even gonna try describing it, honestly. It's another like short novella type book set in like a girl like graduating from space, and she's kind of doing something that her family doesn't want to do. She has this rich cultural heritage that she kind of brings with her as she's doing different tasks. This is a horrible description. I liked this one. It was definitely better than Murderbot. I don't think I'll read any more in the series because I just didn't like love them, but it was fun. I'm thinking maybe these like shorter novellas are not like the best fit for me. So this one again was like a 3-star. Then I read the Furnished Are the Stars by Rosie Thor. So this is again another standalone. This one I really liked as kind of like a good palette cleanser because it was different than the other things I was reading. It's set on different planets. There's like a royalty aspect. It's really the least spacey probably out of all the ones that I've read. We've got 3 main characters we're kind of following, and there's these different plots that have to kind of come about. There's marriages that need to be fulfilled for different like royalty plots to kind of come together. We have a female mechanic in here that is good at like fixing like humans with different mechanical parts about them. It's got like a steampunk vibe. She has like a mechanical heart, and I think it's either like illegal or looked down upon, which is kind of the theme for steampunk books, and she's kind of good at fixing those things and helping people, but I think they kind of have to do it on the down low, which I kind of like. Again, I'm doing a really bad job describing this, but I really enjoyed it. I really liked all of our characters. I liked the way it kind of all wrapped up, and this one wound up being like a 4-star read for me. Then the next least spacey book I read was Star Daughter by Sveta Thakra. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Sheetal's mother is a star who has returned to her place in the constellation, and you're not entirely sure what that means. Sheetal has a secret that she has to keep close. Her hair is the silver of starlight, and some nights the stars feel like they're calling her to name, so I don't want to give away too much about this, but basically Sheetal is the daughter of a star, and she kind of has to hide that information. She's got to like color her hair so people don't know. There's like a whole magical element to this. There's a tiny bit of romance, but not a lot in my opinion. I really enjoyed this. I didn't love it as much as I thought I would. I thought it would be a 5-star, and it was more of a 4-star. There's a little bit of a school aspect to this. There's a lot of like magical elements and kind of whimsical things. I did really, really enjoy it, and I still recommend it. Definitely wouldn't consider it like a super space read. I would consider it more of like a fantasy, because it is. Glad I read it and really enjoyed it. Then I read Between Frost and Fury by Shani Lynn Feener. So I read the first book in this series last year for Galaxyathon. I feel like I've talked about it so much. Such a fun series. I don't know how else to describe it. So in the first book, we have an alien princess that does not want to marry her betrothed, and she winds up tricking her like bodyguards and things into grabbing a human girl from Earth and mistaking her for the princess. Kind of changes her identity, and then she gets to stay on Earth. So you're following the human girl in this who gets stolen and is mistaken for the alien princess and taken back to the alien world. In this world, the aliens are like well known among the Earth, so it's not like a totally weird thing that there's aliens or anything, but it is weird that she's getting taken up to go to an alien planet. This is just like a really fun ride. I would say it's kind of like an easy breezy type of book. The romance in here is so good, especially this second one. Not heavy as far as like, it's definitely YA, and when I say romance, I just mean like the romantic elements, not necessarily like sexy times, but it's so fun. There's like angstiness. There seems to be a little bit of a love triangle, which is very exciting. I haven't read the last book yet, but I just love them so much. So this was a 4-star read for me, and I physically read this one. And I read Dare Mighty Things by Heather Kaczynski, and I also read One Giant Leap to finish this duology. I read this one during the readathon, and then this one I read after the readathon. The narrator for this one, I will post right here. She also did Star Daughter, and I absolutely love her. She's quickly making my like favorite narrators list. This was one of my favorite reads of the readathon. It was so good. So you're following in this first book basically people that are going through space training, and they're going to be like picked and sent on a mission. They don't really know why, and different things are happening. This one's set mostly on Earth, and you're figuring out like what they have to do to get through the space training, and you're learning about the different characters. There's such a fun like character team in here. There's a nice surprise in this book that I was not expecting. I just really enjoyed it. Space training and like all the good sci-fi vibes were in here, even though it was mostly set on Earth. And then, so this one was 4 stars. I did really enjoy the second one. It let me down just a little bit because some things I thought were going to happen did not happen, but I still highly recommend checking it out. And I believe I still gave this one 4 stars as well, but I definitely preferred the first one, which seems to be the general consensus. I also read, I finished this one after the readathon, Alien Echo by Mira Grant, who is also known as Shawnee McGuire. This was so fun, and it was more of like a horror thriller than I was expecting. It was fantastic. It was unique. It was really quick. It's a nice standalone. So Olivia and her twin sister have been dragged around the universe for as long as they can remember. Their parents are both xenobiologists and are always in high demand for their research on obscure alien biology. Just settled onto a new colony world, they discover an alien threat unlike anything they've ever seen, and suddenly the sisters are ripped apart. So we have twin sisters, and one of the sisters has like an autoimmune disease and she's not allowed to go outside, and they're in this new world, so the other sister has to kind of make friends. There's a sweet little female romance in here, and it was intense. Like, I was a little bit like scared, like not really, but there's some dark stuff that happens in here and I was not expecting it, and it was really good. I highly recommend it. It was a good fast-paced book to get through, and I physically read this one. And then the last book I'm going to talk about, because it was my favorite over the entire month and I think of the year. Addie LaRue is coming up there, but it's The Loneliest Girl in the Universe by Lauren James. I remember buying this a few years ago at one of my used bookstores. My friend was like looking for it, and I decided to give it to her or sell it to her, trade it to her or something, because I thought, this is why you shouldn't judge books on their cover, that this was going to be like a sad contemporary about a girl like dealing with grief or loneliness, and I didn't really read the synopsis on it. And then she was telling me she was going to read it for the readathon because it was set in space. And so I read the synopsis, and basically it's the year 6817. And there's this daughter of two astronauts, and she is completely isolated in this spaceship by herself. Her parents have died. You don't really know how or why, and she's alone. And the only contact she has is with Earth through emails, but the emails take like, I think like a year to get back and forth from each other, and so anytime she's communicating with them, it's like a year behind by the time she gets their letter. And then NASA alerts her that there's going to be another ship, modern technology, that can kind of catch up to her eventually, and she's really excited to have a new friend, and it's this whole thing, and you're mostly in her head, and it was so good. The narrator is Lauren Ezzo, who is so amazing. This is only a 7-hour audiobook, so I think it took me 4 hours. And I literally, like, you can see it in my vlog, it should be in week 1. I am literally lost in this book. It made me feel every single feeling. I was like scared, I was sad, I was happy, I felt romance, I felt tension, I was like freaked out. It was so good. I was not expecting it to be like almost like a thriller, like not the entire time, because there's a lot of contemplativeness because you're following Romy and her thoughts. She's grown up pretty much alone or with her parents before they died. She's really smart in certain areas, but then she's really naive in other areas because she hasn't had chances to really interact with anyone else. And she's kind of got to deal with her like life on this spaceship. This one made me feel the most like I was like on a spaceship alone in the world. And my friend Stacy also really loved this one, and we were freaking out about it. We were like texting each other because we were like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? What is she gonna do? She's so alone. Somebody help her. It was amazing and extremely underrated in my opinion, especially the audio. I don't know, something about Lauren Ezzo just really made you feel like you were on that spaceship. It's really, really quick. Highly, highly recommend. So far, I believe my favorite book of the year. Okay, so I think those are all of the things that I read for Galaxyathon, and then a couple after Galaxyathon. I think I finished Alien Echo and One Giant Leap after Galaxyathon. I had a fabulous time. I believe, as far as like how I felt during the readathon and how much I read and how much I liked of what I read, that Galaxyathon was my best readathon ever that I've ever done. So yay, that's good. Hopefully we can continue that. We're doing Hikeathon next. May already be happening, but I'll link the info for that for you guys as well. And then we'll do Mermaid Marathon in June, so I'm also excited. I had a really great time. I love kind of staying in a theme for a while and kind of getting some things off my TBR. I have a lot of space books that I need to get through. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you've read any of these books down below in the comments, or if you plan to, or if I have pushed you into trying some sci-fi reads. Most of these are young adults. They're very easy to get through. I think that they're easier to get through than fantasy because there is some like technical things, but it's never anything too intense, and I just feel like it's easier to follow than when the worlds are like purely based on magic. I still love fantasy, but this is kind of a nice, good palate cleanser in my opinion. So anyway, don't forget to follow me on Instagram at The Bright Side Girl. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time on The Bright Side.